So hopefully this pans out all right. In amongst all the testing, we found this. I'm not entirely sure that's gonna work. Let's start digging some holes. Hole is dug. I don't want it being too deep, and I don't want to go too tight anyway. I want to make it a little bit wider than what's needed. Now this hole is obviously massive, so take photos and then you can't go wrong. Mikey, don't fall in the pond, because that would be an issue. Yo, morning, welcome to the channel. So, as you can gather, it's absolutely hammering it down. And I mean hammer it down. So today, naturally, I'm gonna be working outside. Now, why wouldn't I be working outside when it's raining? Oh, my life. Because it is absolutely tipping it down, I'm having to use a slightly different setup. So hopefully this pans out all right. So today, I'm gonna be getting on with sorting out some pond supply. Now, this pond supply, we came out here previously, and I'll go and show you what we've already done. So this garage here, we ended up rewiring some of the lights and changing the board. So the board itself is this little beauty that we came in previously and put a new board on, because if you remember rightly, it used to belong up there. And that weren't going to work for us. There was exposed ends and all the rest of it, and then we ended up having to rewire the lighting circuits and stuff for going out into the log store and little other store, should we say. But in amongst all the testing, we found this. So previously, this was up like that, and then when we had a look at it, this is actually the pond supply, along with a lot of creepy crawlies that tend to live in there, Mr. and Mrs. Snail. Which means they're going to have to be relocated. When I was planning to do this job, it was nice and dry. And today I'm going to get absolutely soaked. So the plan is that I've got to dig a little bit of a hole down here. And then what I'm going to do is concrete those, make a bit of a structure, and then mount 2 new sockets on there that will actually keep the wildlife out. So we're going to be using some of these storm glands and some weatherproof sockets. Now, as you can gather, it is raining, so I'm not using the original equipment. There you go. So hopefully that's a little bit better. So hence the reason, hopefully the video is still a good quality as it was before, but you never know. You never know with these things. So first things first, I've got to get the rest of the kit out of the van and start digging some holes. So what my plan is that we're going to use some timbers that are now going to cut up and make out of all this a little bit of like a H frame. But first things first, I'm going to go and see how good the digging is. It doesn't have to be high. Obviously, it's not going to be this high because I want it fairly low to the ground, but high enough that it's comfortable for working. I have got the brolly here, so I might see if I can try and set that up first. So wish me luck. I'm not entirely sure that's going to work because underneath that hedge, that bush, is going to be pretty wet. So I'm going to try and see if I can put it up and do that. Not quite sure it's going to pan out. But yeah, first things first, I'm going to go and turn the power off for that, because just in case I hit it with the spade. I'd just like to point out that I'm not going to be using a lock-off device right on there, because I am here, that is there, and I know full well if somebody goes in there. So if you don't have access to it, and you don't know where it is, then I would strongly recommend that you use a lock-off kit. So I'm going to get wet. I've made no bones about it. We're going to have to do the relocation package for the snails. I think they're going to be unhappy about it, but I need to find somewhere good for them. So let's try and see if I can push this up. First things first is get the brolly out. Perfect. Okay, it's not quite how I envisioned, but I think what I'm going to have to do is not have this up for a second, but when I'm working on the actual sockets themselves, then that would probably work. Let's get this out of the way. Right, let's get digging. Okay, so hole is dug. Like I say, it doesn't have to be too crazy deep, which is that now. I don't want it being too deep. And also, I don't want it, the concrete's not going to come all the way up to the top because I want to put soil back over the top of that so then we can disguise it at a later date. So it's plenty big enough. So now we need to build our bit of a frame. Now, let's get the saw. Let's get the saw. It's so wet, so wet. So we need to measure the width of those sockets as well. And I don't want to go too tight anyway. I want to make it a little bit wider than what's needed on there. So let's measure these. So these sockets are, roughly speaking, 180 mil wide. So we need to make sure that the frame is way wider than that. So minimum that we'd have really is 400. But I think what I'm going to do is if I make it 500 wide, which is there, then that should probably do me. Which might mean that I've got to make that trench a little bit wider. That's fine. So obviously it's hammering it down, right? As, like I say, it mentioned. My table as well, which would be ideal today, is on the big build in Rugby, which makes life a lot easier. And I've got that. What is that all about? Right, let's take two. Couldn't make that up, could you? Hopefully this doesn't break into pieces. Despite Sparkies don't do chippy work, you know what I'm saying? Now, what would be good is some waterproof trousers. Oh, I bet there's some chippies crying right now. What are you doing? Listen, it is what it is. So my idea is that would be up like this. That would be like that. I may even think I'm going to double those up. In fairness, so it gives me a decent platform, like, to mount those two. So let's get another 500 on the go there. And we'll get those both mounted up. It gives me a bit more flexibility on everything. See, look, we've got a table now. Okay, we've got our table. Lovely. What measurement have we got on that? I think that'll probably do me on height wise. So 620. 620. That's a proper redneck chippy work there, isn't it? Okay, so just going to fix these two together. That gives us our platform, which is fantastic. Right, I need to go and get this some screws. Okay, so we've now got our board, like so, and now I need to make sure that the hole that I've dug here is wide enough and deep enough to take that, and also that I can get it nice and level. Nice and level, you know what I mean. Right, let's offer that up. Okay, so she's in place, and now I need to get some postcrete on, but I think what I'm going to do is going to cut this out of the way, and then that will clear up a little bit, and we'll use some postcrete to get that going in. Now, it's level, as you can see, she is level. She needs to go this way a little bit, but I'll do that once the postcrete's in. So we need a couple of things. We're going to need the grinder to get rid of this armoured, get that out of the way. We need to be very careful with Mr. and Mrs. Snail. We don't want them to be too upset, and we need to make sure that we house them correctly. So we're going to do that, and we're going to need to go get a bucket of water as well, so we can postcrete this in. It's a fairly simple process, and I'll talk you through the whole job as we're doing it. Before I go cutting anything, I need to relocate Mr. and Mrs. Snail, because it's important that they don't get upset about this whole arrangement. Sorry, Mr. Snail, I apologise. So let's get you gone. I think nice little habitat down here. Let's relocate you here. Look, there you go. You can live on your life here. All right, rent free. Not going to charge you anything. All right, solid. Right, the box is off. Now I've got to go and find a tap, which I'm sure will be out here. Here we go. So I need to fill this up. Because we're going to need quite a lot of water. I know what you're thinking, wet day and all that. Really, do you need that much water? And yes, we do. So postcrete, I need to go and find another stick. And I'm sure in a garden like this, there'll be some stick poking around because do you know what? This is why I broke this off earlier on. It was on purpose, honestly. So it's quite easy doing the postcrete, okay? So the postcrete itself, now obviously it is super, super wet here, so you want to make sure you don't spill anything because whatever it touches it will end up staining. So I know it's hammering it down, but the ground is really, really dry, and that sounds stupid, but it's really dry in there. So what you need to do is pour in your water. Okay, get your postcrete. That's why I'm going to do it on my mat. Get your knife. You see, even I've cut that there, it is spilled. And then we're going to pour that in, making sure that we've got it round our feet. Now this hole is obviously massive. You need to make sure you get it around the back side of that. And then you're going to want a bit of a tamp to try and take out any of the air bubbles that you've got in there. And making sure that postcrete is all the way around your hole. So remember what I said about the angle on here? So if you're holding that level where it needs to be, tamp it down all the way around and it will hold it in place. Now that will be set and gone off in about 15 minutes. And then what we're going to do, we'll backfill that all with the soil, and then what will happen then after that is once that's all backfilled, things can start growing, they can plant little flowers all around it and all the rest of it and hide it all at a future date. Better way of doing it. Okay, so this one's pretty straightforward, right? So we're just going to change that into a bit of twin and earth. So we'll get that all wired up, that's fine. So like I say, it doesn't take long for the postcrete to set. And we've used a storm gland on the bottom because I just prefer storm glands. They're just a bit of a better fit for me personally. And then if you notice in here, we've got some quite unusual armouring that's gone on. So it's just numbered. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then 4 and 5, which is great if you're then running out multiple switching elements and all the rest of it, that's fine. But this hasn't been done like that, but we can't leave it as 1, 2, 3. So if I remember rightly, I think 1 was my live feed, 2 is my neutral, and 3 is my earthing, but I'll double check because again, I've not got a perfect memory and I take photos because, you know, trying to remember everything as you're going is near enough impossible, which is a bit stupid if you're going to go down that road, because you will forget. So take photos and then you can't go wrong. But I can't leave that like it was previously because there's no real indication on what other stuff, you know, what it actually is. So what we can do is we could use a bit of sleeving or we can use something else. So I'm going to show you because we're going to use something else. But let's get this first one wired up, and it's really important as well in this situation is to drill out your drain holes, okay? Because as the temperature changes and all the environment changes, like today, they have condensation in there, and if by drilling those holes out, you'll extend the life of those the sockets themselves as well. They're mounted up now, they're flat, so obviously anything that runs down will run down and go through that drain hole and make its way outside, which is absolutely perfect. This is what we want. So let's wire this socket up nice and quickly. Let's get that done, and then with at least one of those is closed off, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to go about indicating what each one of those cores does. Okay, it's come to that time now where we need to sort out for the indicating of those circuits, because like I say, we can't just leave it at 1, 2, 3, because no one really knows what it does. So yes, that's how it was before, but you can see what the state of the installation was like before. That's why we can't leave it like that. So what we're going to use is some heat shrink on it. So you could technically use tape. The problem is when I find tape as well, and obviously sleeving is a faster way of doing it. Yes, I agree. I know some of you are just about to start typing, use sleeving. But I just want to show you the different methods. So you've got sleeving, you can use tape. The problem is with tape that over time it undoes itself and it goes all a bit gooey and all the rest of it's a bit grim. So, and there's this way, which is the heat shrink, which is what we're going to do right now. So you can need yourself a heat gun. So yes, again, more time, but it's a better quality job. Now, referring back to my pictures, like I said before, is number 1 is my live conductor, number 2 is my neutral conductor, and number 3 is my earthing conductor. So we need to make sure we get it right. So making sure that that is all right is easier said than done when you don't concentrate that well. So you do need to double check. So heat shrink is great. The problem is that you end up having to buy a little bit more than what you actually need, because most wholesalers sell it as like a kit, and half of the stuff you won't actually use. So I do get it from most sides, but this is what I like to do. Yes, it's raining. Would it make more sense to not bother doing this and just getting some sleeving on? Probably. But then, when do I ever do things that make sense? Okay, so as you can see, that took literally seconds. So, in all honesty, there's a couple of factors in there that would have made things a lot faster if I used a smaller heat shrink, which I didn't have, and also a more powerful battery. But hey ho, it is what it is. So now we're just going to wire this up conventionally now, as is with any other socket. But now we've got a proper indication on there of what the actual cores do. And then hopefully I can start packing stuff away, which would be nice, and get out of the rain. But if you've enjoyed this video so far and enjoyed watching me get absolutely soaked, and you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do. Basically, long story short, boys and girls, is that if you're new to the channel, there's roughly 1,000 videos now, I think it said I went over, of various different stuff that we do. It's not all garden sparky and stuff, although I love it, in fairness. And we put a video out every Tuesday and every Sunday. And it's something that I've been doing for a few years now, and I love it, and turns out you do too. So do me an absolute solid, cheer me up in this dreadful weather, and subscribe to the channel. Right, so that is all that bit done. I now need to clear away a little bit of mess. I'm going to put it back into the garage, and we can energise all that in a moment. But I need to tidy up first, and then we need to put all that soil back, because there's no point making a mess and just leaving it like that. You've got to sort it out, and also it will look smarter as well once it's all away, and it's what you get paid for, let's be honest. Like I say, we've done a world of good today. I've had a proper wash. I thought I'd be able to use that, so I thought, I'd be a winner, but that's panned out. Ain't gonna happen. The one glove thing, so some of you might have gone, why the hell has he only got one glove? And the reason why I've only got one glove is because I've realised now the rest of the lads have basically stole all the other stuff. Stole all the other kit, all the other gloves, so I was a bit like Michael Jackson. And thought one glove's better than no gloves, isn't it? So we'll get all this in. Oh, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? It is a bit of a mess. Oh, branches hitting you in the head. Oh, it's all go. So these are the joys. And one thing I do pride myself about this channel is that it is a proper real world channel. There's none of the dressing up, you know, oh, we don't do any of these. Because most people wouldn't have filmed this. You know, who do stuff on YouTube. There's no way they'd have filmed this. They'd have gone, oh, no, I ain't doing it. I'll come back another day. But where's the fun in that? This is fun. I love it. Yeah, I'm soaked. Could I have done things differently? Probably. But this is where the fun's at. So I'm going to get all this back in. Have a little bit of a square up. Right, see you in 2. Okay, so that's all tidied away now. A lot neater than what it was. So you've seen I've just compacted some of the soil down, got that all in. So that is rock steady now. We ain't going to mess about with any of that. So time now to get the power on, have a bit of a square up because all my kit's absolutely soaked. The other thing I've done is washed off my shovel and the trowel because it's really important to make sure you take care of those. And if you do that, it will last an absolute lifetime. So let's get the power back on and make sure those ponds are working. The old pumps are on. So here we have it. So we've now got our sockets in, all in place, all ready to go. So we need to now get the power back on and then we can make sure that those pond pumps are working and make fish a lot happier. So let's get that on. Oh, nice board. I wonder who fitted that. So power's on and let's see whether the old pond is all working. Boom. Pond pump running. Happy fish. Mikey, don't fall in the pond because that would be an issue. So all that's left now, other than to try not to fall in to here, because that would be an absolute nightmare. Height of this goes up a long way. So all that's left now to do is sort out tidying up, getting everything away, try and dry some kit off, and funnily enough, it stopped raining now I've finished the job. So frustrating. So let's tidy up. That's it, that's me done, all squared away. Done a little bit of a solid for the client. I've pushed some of the leaves back so they get a little bit overwhelming really, don't they? So just a little leaf blow over, push them into a corner so they're easy to collect. Doing a nice little thing. So like I say, if you're enjoyed this video, you've learned one little thing or at least just found it amusing that I nearly fell in the pond, got soaked and now it's completely bone dry, that's at least worth a subscribe and I will see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching, see you in a bit.